All right, Northeast Weather Now, forecaster Greg Leone on this Friday morning, actually early afternoon now, 1:23 in the afternoon here on the East Coast, and we have a lot to talk about. I haven't done a video blog in a while, but I'm going to do one for this storm because it's really the first significant snowfall for the cities up into southern New England and into Pennsylvania as well. So let's get started right now in the mid 20s and low 30s throughout most of southern New England. It's really cold out there, and I think one of the things for this upcoming storm that we need to talk about is the GFS not handling the cold air very well. I think it's underestimating the amount of cold air, especially at the surface. It's going to take a lot for that to be driven out. Now, of course, with the pattern the way it is, the lack of downstream blocking, the NAO positive, the fact that this thing doesn't really phase until later and doesn't really get develop into a very rapid cyclone until it's really off the New England coast means that the coastal regions will see a changeover to sleet and freezing rain and then eventually rain, especially down here in the coast of Jersey and Long Island, especially southeast Mass, mainly along the Cape and the islands. But I still think they'll start to snow 2 to 5 inches, or 1 to 3 inches, I would say, before the changeover, and then further inland. We'll get to all the snowfall accumulations in a few minutes. But first, let's take a look at the water vapor satellite. Here's our storm. Here's our upper level low. We have a split flow in the jet stream, and as the storm moves east, it will redevelop. It'll kind of come up here and redevelop off the coast and really get going as it's off the New England coast. Now, the latest model runs have the storm really kind of coming right over Nantucket, and which is a little close, a little close. So I think the coast definitely changes over to rain eventually, probably after 6Z or after, yeah, 6Z-ish. And then I think that rain snow line is going to come north. I think we're going to have to deal with that coastal front, of course, in the Boston area. We'll have to monitor that, but they're still going to get a good 6 inches before any of that mixing happens. And then I think by the time 12Z rolls around Sunday morning, the rain snow line might be around the Mass Pike, but by that time I think most of the snow has fallen, and most of the models are indicating, namely my choice, the European, which I'll show you in a second, and the NAM, I think are handling the storm, the cold air, the best. And but in terms of the track and QPF amounts, models have been pretty consistent. So let's get over to the models. Here's a European 12Z that just came out. So let's backtrack a little bit here. All right, so this is 18Z tomorrow 1 p.m. The snow starting to overspread central Pennsylvania. Now, the really good stuff isn't going to happen until after 0Z probably. Late, it'll be, scattered snow showers and flurries for most of southern New England tomorrow, and maybe some light snow. And it's so cold that it might accumulate a half an inch or so to an inch, but then it's really after 0Z where things really get going. You see this rapidly developing cyclone, and that you see the 32-degree line is kind of hard to see, but it's around the coast. New York City will be very borderline. I think I would expect 2, 3, 4 inches there, much more to the northwest, and most of Connecticut and southern New England 6 to 12 inches. Boston itself around 6 before any mixing. And then once you get up here into like Albany and the Berkshires, central northern New England, you're going to get much higher ratios with the 850 millibar temperatures being very cold throughout the duration of the event, and as well as the surface temperatures. So here we are. Oops. So there's your storm 987. See, it's actually further southeast than the last run, but nevertheless the European keeps it mainly snow. Let's look at the total accumulated snowfall here, which some of the algorithms and the models, this is based on a 10 to 1 ratio. Sometimes it doesn't work out. I think this is pretty good. A general 6 to 12 throughout this entire area in the northeast. Well, again, higher ratios up here. You'll have a fluffier snow, a wetter snow towards the coast. That's the European, and here's the Canadian. This is 22Z tomorrow. You can see the very heavy snow into central Pennsylvania, moving in with all this cold air in here. Arctic air masses are characteristic to be hard to push out. You really have to flood the atmosphere, the troposphere, with a lot of warm air to get it to change over to complete rain. So that's why I think a lot of places stay completely all snow in here. Um, and you see the rain snow line by the time it gets up here to the Hartford area, in Connecticut, I think most of the precip is over, so you get probably 6, 7, 8 inches of snow, and then maybe a glaze of ice on top. But I think with the 2 meter temperature staying below 32 or at 32 for the duration of the event, you're going to see all frozen precip. Here's the simulation, a nice little graphical simulation of the NAM, the high-res NAM WRF NMM, and most of the high-res short-range models, including the NAM, this model, the ARW, those types of models are pretty much saying mainly snow and frozen precip north and west of the big cities. And that's where you get into the real heavy stuff. All right, what else do I want to show you? Here's a close-up view of the snow totals throughout southern New England. You can see coastal regions have some problems, definitely with the mixing, but northwest of Boston, jackpot, and it's consistent with this model of the snow output is consistent with the total QPF output. So I think that tells me that the model is at least saying that what it thinks is going to be on the ground is going to be all snow through 12Z on Sunday. Current watches and warnings by the National Weather Service, you can see a huge swath here, huge swath all the way back towards Missouri and through Indiana and through Pennsylvania, winter storm warnings already, and all throughout pretty much New England and New York State as well. So, actually, you know what? I'll show you my map here. Where the heck did I do? What did I do with it? I'll show you my snowfall map, the updated version. So 1 to 3 at the coast, again, major mixing issues. You're going to change over to rain. We just can't stop that with the positive NAO without the downstream blocking. It's difficult. Also, that coastal front will sneak in here, as we always have to deal with it in the greater Boston area. But I think 6 inches is a good bet before any of that mixing happens. Probably around 9Z and later, between 9 and 12Z on Sunday morning. And of course, large swath of 6 to 12, lower ratios in here and higher ratios up here, and then a little 3 to 6 in between the Connecticut coastline before it changes over. So our first moderate to heavy snowfall for this season. I'm excited. Hope everybody else is. I hope you enjoyed this forecast. As I say here, medium to high confidence with this, as the models are pretty consistent. The SREFs, which I didn't show you either, also are pretty consistent with the NAM. So keep it tuned here to Northeast Weather Now. Have a great day.